Hey. Good morning. How you all doing out there? Hope you had a good night. This is God Concept Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Pagan. There's new music called Beauty too. Beauty is available on all streaming platforms right now. One of my favorite new tracks. But besides that, let's get down to business. Let's get down to the story at hand. What do I have to tell you guys? I've been doing a lot of research. So, in the next day, today and tomorrow, you're gonna get two podcasts from me. You're gonna get 2 episodes from me, where I talk about multiple things, mainly my situation and what I've been going through, and also what I found out about Cuba and the American government and the CIA and the mafia and all that stuff. Hence the background, right? Please, if you like the content, like, share it, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. I'm trying to get my numbers up, so I can keep on producing new episodes for you guys, so I can help support my family and myself. Also, if you're online and you see the GoFundMe, I was supposed to post it today. If you see my GoFundMe, go on there, drop whatever you can. Anything is greatly appreciated. This episode is going to be titled the Cuban children, the U.S. Cuban children. Hold on, what did I say? I thought of the title earlier, but that's neither here nor there. Now, we all know that the United States government always had a thing for Cuba for whatever reason. The United States government, the mafia, the CIA always had a thing with Cubans. So, when we look back at the Bay of Pigs, that was basically them storming the beach or whatever and overflowing the population. Fighting a big war and everything, where the Cuban government had to actually put an end to it and everything like that. I don't know all the ins and outs, the intricacies of the Bay of Pigs, but you could go check that out. When you look at operations like Operation Mongoose, where they did terroristic attacks on civilians of Cuba. When we look at Operation Northwood, where they had a campaign to get Castro elected as president, it's always been a love and hate type situation with Cuba. The Cuban Missile Crisis, right? It's always been a thing where America's been alongside Cuba and fighting Cuba at the same time. Operation Peter Pan and Pedro Pan, where they actually was stealing children from Cuba, bringing them into America. They stole Cuban children from Cuba, from parents of Cuba, and brought them to America. Some parents got their children back. Some parents, unfortunately, didn't. Maybe because they lost their life. Maybe because they lost track of their children by some freak of nature or whatever, by some circumstance. They lost track of their children and they just never was able to get them back. But a lot of parents lost their children. A lot of children of Cuba who was kidnapped from Cuba made their way to America. And they did this with help, with handlers and people that was planning in their life. And today, it still goes on. I'm gonna take you into the story of how um, America stole Cuban children. Well, Operation Peter Pan, Pedro Pan was to do just that. So they had soldiers and people planted all over the place, even in Cuba, to help with the exodus of mass Cuban children. Once these kids got to America, they were just watched, monitored, um, things like that. They was made to repopulate and have kids, with people in Cuba. So this way they could have an amalgamation, have people in America of Cuban blood, of that bloodline. Why? Because maybe they was easily manipulated. Maybe they had some type of connection with their DNA. I don't know, but they also had a lot of people handling these children, people implanted in these life, former soldiers and former veterans of Vietnam and things like that. And what they would do is handle these children's lives to make sure that, they don't seem like plants. But what they do is they ensure that the kids that they stole from Cuba, that they kidnapped from Cuba, always stayed in line and always fit a program or agenda. The U.S. government, they don't like to get their hands dirty. So they like to use, the CIA don't like to get their hands dirty, and the FBI neither. They will, but under certain circumstances. When the secret operations taking place, they like to use the mafia for that job. They like to use the mafia and the shadow government. What the shadow government is basically behind the scenes where they have certain things happen for a certain reason. The shadow government is nefarious, yes, but it's not a secret organization. All the shadow government is when agencies of the government work together to make things happen to you, i.e., far as setting you up, falsifying police reports against you, planting drugs on you, having you do certain things that will make you look like a criminal, when in fact they're the criminal. When in fact that's exploitation, that's entrapment. When a government agent watches you and have you do something illegal, so this way they could document it and take that back to headquarters. And that's what they've been doing to a lot of Cuban Americans that they stole from Cuba and brought over here to America. Now, I don't have a lot written down on this cue card, just little things that I wanted to talk about. Now, throughout that time, they would do personal studies, personal tests, and different social studies on the children that they brought to America, that they stole from Cuba. Of course, they was made to, reproduce, populate, and have children everywhere. I'm proof of that. Um, but they also would have their lives tampered with in a way where they can always have control of you. They don't want you, they didn't want these Cuban children that they stole from Cuba to ever reach a point in life where they could actually talk about the exploitations that America did through the mafia, that the government did through the mafia, and is currently being monitored by the CIA and the FBI. See, they know all about the things that they did in the past, their dark history, their secret history. But the one thing that they didn't account for is the fact that we have a spiritual connection. All of us, not just the kids that were stolen from Cuba. All of us have a spiritual connection where the dark soon come to light. The dark will always soon come to light. So if I have a revelation or if I have a vision of exactly why I'm in my situation, why my father been in his situation, why all of this, because the things that they do is insidious. They steal sperm from you. Because, see, the CIA love to use Cubans as guinea pigs for some reason. For some reason, the CIA uses the mafia to exploit Cubans for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe they just understand the genetics of Cubans. Maybe they just really got a disdain for Cuban people. Maybe they just like to do studies on Cuban people because they know them better than anybody else. Everybody knows that the mafia in Cuba had a long-standing relationship where the mafia actually, in fact, invaded Cuba. Not like by force or anything, but they were over there at the hotels, sleeping with the Cuban women, taking their, money, bringing drugs into the country, having Cubans bring drugs out of the country and things like that for them, basically using them as mules or gophers or whatever. And that ran for a long time. In fact, it's still going on today, where they like to use certain people to do certain jobs, in certain places. So, I first stumbled across this information when my brother doing a podcast. My brother lost his life. My brother took his life, and for whatever reason, my grandfather called him Peter Pan. My grandfather's a vet, a war vet. He's not really my grandfather, but he's a guy that's been in my life, helped raise me. Vietnam vet, right? Supposedly. But he was also a handler in the plant. Well, he called my brother Peter Pan for whatever reason. And I couldn't figure that out. I said, why would he call him Peter Pan? He said, because of those tight little pants that he wearing. And I'm like, my brother never, I don't remember him wearing tight pants like that. Not to the point where you call him Peter Pan. Me being me, even before my whole situation occurred, even happened, me being me, I looked into Peter Pan. What did that mean? You know what I mean? For some reason, something told me, something in my mind, in my gut told me, look up Operation Peter Pan. And lo and behold, there it was. Operation Peter Pan was the stealing of Cuban children, right? It was Operation Peter Pan. To them, to Cubans, they know it as Operation Pedro Pan. But in America, we more so call it Peter Pan. But what it was the stealing of Cuban children, the kidnapping of Cuban children, and bringing them to America, and just putting them in population, putting them in foster care, letting certain people raise them, so on and so forth. So there you go. I want to go on with my podcast a little bit more, but people are waking up. There's a lot of movement in this house that I'm at, so I won't go too far with it. I appreciate you all viewing this short. I wanted this video to be real long, but I'm going to continue to, expound on this topic more and more as we go on. All right? But yeah, there's a lot that the United States government has done with Cubans, and they cover it up by letting their street team, i.e. the mafia, do their dirty work for them. So, that's that. While we at it, go check out the new music I just dropped. It's on all streaming platforms. I dropped one called In the End. You have Beautiful. You have Prophet. You have Talking to God. And you got Wake and Bake. Check them all out. Let me know what you think. Yeah. New books and commercials and all that coming. So, thanks for watching this short, brief history lesson on stolen Cuban children. The stolen children from Cuba. That's the name of the episode. Yeah. My name is Mr. Pagan. This has been God Concept. Peace.